Good morning, everybody. My name is Nicola and I am simply a stitcher. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, and I know that a few of you have recently joined me, then welcome. And if you're returning, then thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have your company once again. So today it is my Stitch With Me. We did a floss tube last week. So that means a Stitch With Me this week, and as you can see here, we have the beautiful Envy, which is one of the 7 Deadly Sins series. The image is by Marta, Dahlig, and the pattern, the chart itself, is by Heaven and Earth Designs. Those of you who have been watching me for a while will know that this one for me is number 2. I've already completed Avarice. So yeah, I thought I'd have a little Stitch With Me on this little beauty today. So I must apologise in advance. It's grey and gloomy here. So I've got my window open at the back of me, not my window, my curtains open that side, and on this side I've got a daylight lamp just so I can actually see what I'm doing. It's horrible. It's a gloomy day, September the 6th, and it's just, I don't think I've seen such a miserable day in a long time. So yeah, I'm doing everything I can with the light today. So I'm filling in this section here today, and I've got a few ninja stitches in here, and then I'm sort of bringing the stitches down. As you know, I'm working, well, there's like 9 squares across, and I'm aiming to sort of fill those in the column all the way down, and I am about 200 stitches down from the top, which is a third of the way down the first column. So let's crack on and see how far we can get today. Hold on just a second, let me just do a little bit of camera thing, because I can't see where I'm looking. Cannot see my fabric at the point that we're at. I thought I would be able to, but you know it is. There we go. Okay, so it is 20 to 8 in the morning, so it's my well, I say early morning. This is actually, for me, it's about the normal time that I would do a Stitch With Me. The house is lovely and quiet. Andy's gone to work. Lauren, the youngest, is in school. The eldest one has gone to her volunteer day, and the middle one is not at home at the moment. She is at the boyfriend's. So at the moment I have peace and quiet, apart from the cat. The cat is knocking about, and she is quite needy at the moment. I don't know what's wrong with her, so she might pop in, I don't know. So I hope everybody is doing well. I have had a fairly good stitchy week since my floss tube. I've worked a day or two on a stitching shelf. I've worked on the Polar Bear and Cub. I've worked on Envy. This is the 2nd day of working on this. And I've worked on L is for Lamb. I've also been out with Andy filming for Village Idiot, and came back home to a lovely shout out from another floss tuber. So I wanted to say a thanks to Blushing Pink Stitches for shouting me out on her last channel, on the strength that I think it was mainly on the strength that I'm doing a stitching shelf Sal, and you know, she sort of found me through that. So yeah, a lovely shout out, very pleased, very happy, and I know that I've had an influx in subscribers since then. So if you join me via Lindsay's channel, thank you. I'm almost at 900 subscribers now as I film this, and that's fantastic. Excuse me. So there's a couple of things that are on sort of my radar today. The first one is I'm going to do a Know Your Needleworker tag. And the second thing is I'd like to talk a little bit about a future video that I've got planned. And that was actually on the back of Lindsay's shout out, a Blushing Pink Stitches shout out. I had a bit of an idea and I just wondered what you guys would sort of think about it. But anyway, let's start off with the Know Your Needleworker. I've decided to do this little section of the chart today because there's lots of bits of blocky stitching where I'm filling in gaps, and it means that I will just be able to almost mindlessly stitch and still chat, because the bits here do tend to be a bit more confetti heavy and the stitch placement is very important. Okay, so I had a Google and I found a Know Your Needleworker tag, and there are, I don't know if I've got the right one, I'll be honest, because I've never done this before. There are 10 questions, so I'm hoping that we're going to fill a good portion of this video and chat about the questions that are on this tag. So the first question is, where do you live? Well, I live in England. I live in the north. I live in Yorkshire, more specifically in South Yorkshire, and I live in a town called Rotherham. Rotherham is in between Sheffield and Doncaster, and it's a reasonable sized borough. I live in the suburbs, about 3 miles from the town centre, and I've lived in my particular house, this particular house, oh, split my thread, that's it, I've lived in for almost 11 years. I am a homeowner, and this house is semi-detached, 3 bedrooms, with a front garden, a back garden, a driveway and a garage, so it's like a typical suburban house. And where I live it's a fairly quiet place. We do have moments, you know, long-time viewers will know that we do have moments where somebody drives down the street on a hairdryer. We might hear the children walking past to go to the school around the corner. But all in all, it's a quiet place and a pleasant place to live. My home itself is south facing, so my living room gets lots of lovely natural light in the morning and right through until about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is really nice in the winter, but it's awful in the summer, because when we have days where it's very hot, I can't open my curtains. My curtains are like blackout curtains, and they also keep the heat out, because they've got a pale lining, which is the bit that's sort of facing out onto the street. But yeah, it's not a bad house. I don't know if we will stay here permanently. I have designs on living by the sea, which would be nice. But yeah, I'm happy here for the time being. So my house needs a little work, but I also need the money to do the work. I could do with a new kitchen. I could do a new carpet. It needs decorating throughout. It's not been done since I bought it, really. I did a sort of a fresh coat in every room, but I've not been able to do any for a while. So that's me. That's where I live. So next question is, what do I do for a living? Now, it's a bit unfortunate with this one. I have to be a bit evasive. And it's not because I don't want to tell you guys what I do. It's that my workplace have requested that I don't identify where I work. So, what I will tell you is that I work from home and I work in the finance sector. I have a 9-to-5 office job, and one day a month I go into our local offices, which are in Sheffield, and other than that I sit at home on my work computer. It's a telephony based job, so I talk to other businesses, but other than that there's not an awful lot I can tell you. I've worked for this same organisation since May 2018, and it's the kind of organisation where I can move role within that organisation, and as you guys will know, I did that earlier this year. I moved from one role into my current role, and it gave me a salary increase, it gave me better hours, and it kind of refreshed me for working life, as it were. They say change is as good as a rest, and absolutely in this instance it was. Suffice to say, the company I work for I find to be very good. The benefits package is good, and I do feel that on the whole it's a fair wage for what we do. So yeah, that is work. And of course the other side thing that I do is go out with Andy Films for Village Idiot. Excuse me. Although, to see that as work may be tenuous, because it's an absolute pleasure. I like to go out and see new places and things. So, yeah. So that's work. Do I have any children? Question 3. Well, again, if you've been with me a while, you will already know the answer to this one. Yes, I have 3. I have 3 daughters with my ex-husband. And I also have 2 stepchildren, which are Andy's 2 children, one a boy, one a girl. I just find this thread. So my eldest daughter is 20, and then there's one at 18, and then there's one at 13, and then Andy's children are 11 and 10. So quite a broad range of ages, and yes, my girls all still live at home. I didn't think I could have children, and I unexpectedly found out that I was pregnant with Hannah back in 2001. So she is 21 later this year. I had Lauren become a teenager. She turned 13 in April, the youngest. The middle one turned 18 in May, and now I have one turning 21. So it's a year of big birthdays in this house. So, yeah. And then we have Andy's 2 children as well, who come and visit with us once a fortnight, once every 2 weeks, and stay from Friday to Sunday to spend some time with their dad. So that's it as far as children go. And now we talk about the other kind of children. Do you have any pets? Yes, I do. I have a cat. She's called Angel, and we adopted her a couple of years ago at age 7 from somebody who had had her since she was a kitten, but was unfortunately no longer able to keep her. So we took Angel on, having previously had dogs. We lost our dog in February, and the house was very lonely without her. So in July, the opportunity came up to adopt Angel, so we took it. I think there's something very lonely about a house that's had pets in it and then all of a sudden doesn't. But certainly for the last 20 years, I've always had pets around me. Not long after I first got married in 1997, a year later, my ex-husband and I adopted a dog, a puppy. And she was a border collie pup, and she was one of a litter of 6. We had one. My ex-husband's parents took 2, and I don't know what happened with the other 3. But suffice to say that our dog was the longest living of all 3. She was with us until she was 13 and a half. But then sadly we had to have her put to sleep in 2012. And again, it was a time where the house was unbearable without a pet in it. So this was the year before my marriage broke down. So me and my ex-husband went to the local retired greyhounds sanctuary and adopted 2 retired racers. And people are thinking, whoa, greyhounds, they're a lot of hard work. Well, no, they're not. They're very lazy dogs. They're built for the sprint and not for the marathon. Now, my collie, Sinead, she was a marathon dog. She'd walk for miles. The greyhounds would look at the leads and go, nah, no, I don't think I can be bothered with that. So the 2 retired greyhounds that we had Tony, who was something like 6 or 7 when he came to us. And then we had Chloe, who was only a little, well, not much more than a pup. She was 2.5. But Chloe had already had her racing life. And Tony himself, he was, he'd been rehomed more than once. And we ultimately decided with him that coffee time. This home should be his last home, because it's not fair to an animal to keep uprooting them. Move along a little bit. To keep uprooting them, and we just felt awful for him that he'd been to a couple of homes and he'd ultimately had to be returned back to kennel. And there was no real reason for it because he was such a lovely dog. He really was. Anyway, Tony passed first, followed by Chloe a few years later. I think we had Chloe on her own for something like 3 years. And we just came down, and one morning Andy came down and found that she'd passed away in her sleep. And it was hugely distressing. Because, you know, pets are family. They're a huge part of the family. And even though we didn't want to have a house without pets, we didn't want a dog again for the time being. We took an executive decision that a dog was off the cards, because it was just so difficult when Chloe passed away. It really was. But we have Angel, and we've had her now for a little over 2 years. She is a lot more agreeable than she was when she first came here. She is much more open, I suppose, in the respect that she will come and sit on my knee occasionally, and she will come and spend time with me. Sometimes she's very standoffish and doesn't want to be touched, and that's absolutely fine. But other moments she just wants all of the attention. No, I've put that stitch in the wrong place. Just back sew it. Oh, not allowing me to back sew. Can't thread my needle now. Got one here as well. There. So I mean about the confetti areas. I have to think, to stop talking and think. Is this stitch going in the right place? Anyway, so yeah, so that's pets. So the next thing is, do I have any other hobbies besides stitching? Yes, I do, but they are not a hobby like this, a creative hobby. Having said that, I do knit from time to time. I can also crochet. And I've done things like I've made dream catchers before, things like that. I'd like to sort of find a hobby next year that isn't stitchy related. I have said this a couple of years now, but this just pulls me back. So other things that I like to do apart from stitch, well, I like to travel. Andy and I, obviously we do lots of travelling within the UK, but we've also, since I've been with him, we've travelled overseas to various places. We have been to Poland, we've been to Romania, we've been to France, we've been to Monaco, we've been to Spain and Tenerife, we've been to the Ukraine, we've been to, I know it's not sort of technically travelling outside the UK, but it's taken a plane there. We've been to Northern Ireland. We've also been to other sort of places that are part of the UK, like the Isle of Man. Norway, Sweden and Denmark, we've been to them as well. So I do enjoy travelling when I can. It's really put the brakes on it, having COVID pandemic. So we were supposed to go to Iceland. We've been supposed to be going to Iceland for about 3 years now. Um, we were supposed to be going to Estonia, and again, COVID stopped that. We did, on our honeymoon, we did quite a bit. We went to Italy on our honeymoon after the Isle of Man and London. And for our wedding anniversary, I think it was the first one, we went to Geneva, to Switzerland. And, that was really nice. Switzerland is beautiful. So yeah, we like to travel. But as I said, COVID did stop a lot of our travelling ambitions. The other thing that I like is music, and I do love to get to go and see live music. But again, COVID has stopped a lot of that, and the world of concerts is only just sort of, restarting properly now. I mean, this summer we've seen a lot more festivals and things going on. Having said that, we've not been to a gig since, I think it was last November. So my daughter is just phoning me. I just have to pause a second. Oh, sorry about that. Children are wonderful. So she's ringing me, but she's not actually answering me when I ring her back to say, "Are you okay?" There you go. So we were at Hobbies and talking about music. Yes, I love live music, but unfortunately I can't get to see any at the moment. So that is that. So the next thing is, what is my favourite movie? Oh my goodness, there are so many. I do like a good film. I like some of the 80s stuff. So films like Top Gun, Dirty Dancing, The Lost Boys, I think that was the 80s, that kind of thing. I like gangster movies, so Goodfellas, Casino, that sort of genre. They all appeal to me. I like more modern stuff as well. I've seen A Star Is Born, the Lady Gaga version, and I quite enjoyed that. I'm still waiting to see Top Gun Maverick. I'm still waiting to see the Elvis biopic. I quite like a good biopic, actually. I really enjoyed Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash biopic. Although I know, and I'm pretty sure that we're all aware that you can put these things to film, but they're not necessarily reflective of, the whole truth. I did think it was a good, although not entirely accurate. I did think it was a good story, and very interesting, and I learned quite a bit. Very often, once I've seen a movie like that, I'll back it up with an autobiography, or so I will occasionally read. On the once a month when I go to work, I do very often spend my time on the tram with a book in my hand. so yeah, that's that. And Lauren has just messaged me back saying, "I didn't mean to ring." Well, you could have texted me back straight away, kid, because I've been trying to ring you. Aren't children wonderful? So yeah, I do like a movie. I can't say that any one of them is my particular favourite. I have a soft spot for many films. Um, you know, I like something with a bit of drama in it, a bit of action, like, like the Taken trilogy, Liam Neeson. So, but I also like stuff that's easy to watch, and doesn't require. I've never been a fan of things like Star Wars or anything like that. I've gone a split a thread there. Yeah, I've never been a fan of Star Wars or anything like that. So, but I'm not into keen on the futuristic genre or anything that's sort of got a space element in it. For me, they have to be like an action film, but with a bit of a storyline. In terms of things like who's my favourite actor, well, Ray Liotta, the late Ray Liotta, was up there. I quite like, people like Tom Hanks. I think he's very interesting at how we can move from serious to comedy kind of thing. I'm just trying to think who else. It's difficult, sort of putting yourself on the spot. Oh, Wally, I've just gone back through that one. Putting myself on the spot and seriously having to think about, well, what is it? What is my favourite? Because I've not really thought about it, if I'm totally honest. But there you go. Okay, so the next question is, what is my favourite TV show? Well, I have to admit, in terms of TV shows, having a fondness for all things medical. So, for US ones, I liked ER, 15 seasons. I would watch those over and over again, even though it's been sort of, cancelled. It ended a number of years ago. I still do watch them, the episodes from time to time. I much preferred the earlier episodes because they just seemed to be more realistic. I've never gotten into Greys, although I know that the girls are, and they keep saying to me, "Oh, Mum, if you like ER, you'll like this." Da, 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 da. Well, maybe I should have a look at that. So Greys is something that is on the list. House. I really enjoyed House. Let me just angle this camera again because it's not right still. Yeah, I really enjoyed House. Hugh Laurie, and it had, some of my other sort of favourite people in it. In the UK, we had Holby City and Casualty. Holby City's now been cancelled. I did watch that a lot more than I watched Casualty, and to be honest with you, I rarely now watch Casualty. I've got about a dozen episodes lined up, to binge watch and catch up on. And if I'm honest with you, I don't actually have any plans to anytime soon because it just seems to be, I've gone a little bit over the top. I like a little bit of more realism in my medical drama, but there we go. So other TV shows that I like that go up there in the favourites, 6 Feet Under. Now that was a series. Proper enjoyed 6 Feet Under. But I couldn't get into Dexter. I know that, one of the guys from 6 Feet Under was in Dexter, but I could never get into it. I don't know why. So yeah. But as a rule, I tend not to watch television. You're more likely to find me plumbed into a crime podcast or crime documentary on YouTube. And with that, I like creators like That Chapter, Mike. I like Dark Curiosities, This Is Monsters. There's quite a few that I do sort of watch and listen to on a regular basis on YouTube. I certainly watch YouTube a heck of a lot more than the television. In fact, fun fact, the television in my house hasn't actually been on since April. We're now in August. That's how little we watch television. So I'm just wondering if there's actually any point in having one. So the next question is, what is my favourite book? Well, I don't have a favourite book as such. I do have some favourite authors. I do enjoy Stephen King, but not a lot of them. It'd have to be like a companion book or the book of a movie that I've seen, like Misery or Green Mile, that kind of thing. But one of my favourite authors, she's another one who sadly passed away, was an Irish lady called Maeve Binchy. And she did some wonderful books, very easy to read. And I used to quite enjoy, when the latest Maeve came out, I'd be there, in, W.H. Smith's or wherever. And I'd be buying a book of hers. Echoes is my favourite one. I also enjoyed Arthur Golden's Memoirs of a Geisha, but again, that was because I'd seen the film, and the book expanded much more than the film. So that was that. Oh, my favourite music. Ooh, where do I start? There's nothing I won't listen to. Some of the more sort of noughties and teens stuff that we've seen over the last few years isn't music as such, it's noise. But in terms of music, my all-time favourite is Def Leppard. They come from Sheffield, and they're just a great band, and they're still going 40-some years later. They've had death and disaster, and they're still there. Death, cancer, one of them losing a limb, and they're still putting out the music. And my modern favourite is Lewis Capaldi. Now, I've met Lewis. I've met him 3 times. The first time I met him was in the Lead Mill in Sheffield, and he was playing to a couple of dozen people while they were waiting for the main act to come on, which was Seafret, who were another fabulous duo. And Lewis had just released his first EP, Bloom. And I can remember standing and talking to him and saying to him, I think your music's amazing, and I think your voice is amazing, and I think you're going to be big. I really do. And I came home from the gig that night, and Andy would tell you, I didn't mention Seafret once. I just talked about Lewis and how brilliant I found him, and and Andy's like, oh yeah, just sort of paying lip service to what I was saying. And then of course here we are. Now I saw him in 2017, yes, and here we are 5 years later, and he's about to put out his, a new single from, and I would imagine that there's a new album in the works as well. And he's had #1 hits, and he's sold out arenas in minutes, and I've actually met him 3 times. So the first time was in the Lead Mill, And the second was about a year later in Leeds. There's a little venue up there called the Wardrobe. Hang on, just a drink of coffee. Apologies if you hear the glug glug glug. And in the Wardrobe, they were having this day where there were like 10 acts, and they were the ones to watch. The BBC, I think it was part of the BBC thing, but anyway, they were down there as ones to watch. Another one who was on the bill that night was Sam Fender, who I also love, and of course I've met him at the Lead Mill. I've met him at Leeds, and yeah. Then the third time I met Lewis was again in Leeds at Leeds Academy. We'd gone to see him with Hannah, my eldest, who wanted really to go to see the support act, who was Nina Nesbitt. And Hannah's always been a fan of Nina Nesbitt. So after the gig, we were stuck around and we were talking to Nina. And I sort of looked back at the stage, and up in sort of one of the gantries, I sees his white figure. And I recognised it straight away as Lewis, so I beckoned him down. And I have to say that of the 3 times that I've met him, he's known who I was every time. Every time. Which is marvellous, really. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Andy to put in some pictures at the end of this video of me with Lewis, because I've actually got pictorial proof of the Leeds, both the Leeds ones. The Sheffield one, it was like pitch black. You can't even tell it's Lewis apart from the hair. So yeah, I'll get Andy to put some pictures in. So that's my favourite music. 2 bands, very opposite ends of the spectrum. One's a rock band, one's a balladeer, but I'll listen to anything in between. Sometimes I'll get a song in my head and I'll just go and find it on YouTube, and then I'll listen to it and it'll lead me to other new stuff, and I love it. I love music. So we are down to the last question. And the question is, what one word best describes you? Well, I think after all that lot that you've just heard from me, I think the one word that describes me would be eclectic. There's nothing that I won't tackle, I won't listen to, I haven't heard of, I haven't looked at, I haven't studied. You know, I have a thirst of knowledge, a thirst to learn, but also a thirst to listen and a thirst to know. I am an eclectic person. I mean, if you sort of wanted to, you know, comment and discuss, I don't know, the latest Bryan Adams album, or, you know, just trying to think what Rihanna was doing after she'd had a baby, or, you know, which tiara was the best one that Kate Middleton had worn, I could sit and discuss all 3 of these things. You know, I'm a very eclectic kind of person. So yeah, I think that's going to be the best way to describe me, is eclectic. So there we go. So I hope that helps you sort of get to know me just a little bit more. It's certainly interesting doing these tags, because you do sort of think to yourself, well, I've got such a lot, you know, and I've done such a lot in a short space of time, kind of thing. But there we go. So there we are. That is me. So I talked earlier on that I was thinking about an idea for another video. And I just wondered, I know that when Blushing Pink did my shout out, that she mentioned that I do, you know, like 1,000 stitches a day. And I know a lot of people are quite surprised by that. So I wondered if you guys would like a video that shows how I do it and how I manage to fit it in my life, as it were. How do I fit stitching into my day? How do I, you know, when the timings, the whens, the hows, and so on. So let me know what your thoughts are. I'd be quite up for doing sort of something like that. It wouldn't be a long video. I think sort of some snippets of, it's such and such a time, and I've done this and I've done that, and now I've got to do some work, and now I've got to go and do this or go and do that, or whatever. I think it'd be quite interesting. So yeah, I'm thinking about doing that. Almost like bringing you guys into my stitching world. So let me know what you think. So I think for the last sort of 10 minutes or so, we'll just sort of have a bit of a sort of a general chit chat and what we've been doing. So as I mentioned, Andy and I were out filming last weekend. We went into West Lindsey, and then we met with his parents because it was his dad's birthday. So I know you probably won't be watching this, but happy birthday to my father-in-law. Okay, just deciding where excuse me. Just deciding where I'm going next. So yeah, we went to 6 villages and they were all beautiful. No, we didn't. We went to 5. I'm lying. The 6th village was the one where we had our meal, but we didn't have enough time to actually go around and physically film in that village. So we didn't. The kids are going into school. I don't know if you can hear them. And yeah, it was a good weekend. This weekend Andy's children are coming, so it's a weekend at home. The end of the month, him and we're going away for a few days. It's our wedding anniversary, so we're going away for a few days, and I can't remember if it falls in a floss tube or stitch with me week. If it's a floss tube week, it gets filmed in the room. If it's a stitch with me week, I might film it previously, and then just release it on the Tuesday. I kept saying, and I do still keep saying, I want to try and film a second stitch with me on some weeks that I can just add to music. I was going to do it a week last Friday, but then United Utilities turned up and installed a telegraph pole outside my window, and the amount of noise that they were making was horrendous. And I don't know how Andy would have been able to have. I would imagine that there's probably some ways we could have turned down the noise in his YouTube editor, but I had to kind of keep away from the front window because it was giving me a headache. So yeah. Other than that, life is just pootling on as normal. Nothing exciting happening, thank the Lord. I've had my fair share of dramas and things over recent time. It's now just time for life to settle down and be nice and quiet for a change. So there we are. I will be working shortly, about half an hour. I'm due to start work. It's the kind of work where I'm talking to people and I'm thinking, how long can it be before I get back to my stitching? You know you're obsessed when you're counting the minutes for you to go back, pick up your needle again. I'm almost at 200 stitches. In fact, I might even be at 200 now. Let's mark these little babies off and see where we're at. Right, 200 stitches, 201 to be exact. Good morning's work. I'm still having the same sort of issue with a stitching shelf. I can only do a max 500 a day because the confetti is just so heavy on it. I did actually have a day where I put in like 800 stitches, but that was like dawn till dusk. It was all day and it didn't work on anything else. If I put 500 stitches on a stitching shelf, I can, generally speaking, pick up another project and put 500 stitches on that. If I do over 500 stitches, you know, like I said, my max is about 800 a day on it because there's so many colour changes. So what I have been doing sometimes is picking up a stitching shelf first thing and working on it first thing and into my lunchtime, and then the second I hit 500 stitches on Pattern Keeper, switching it out for another project, because it's the only way really that I can still maintain my 1,000 a day. Anyway, it's a lovely project though. I mean, if I didn't have to work, I'd be spending all my time stitching, but I don't get paid enough to stitch, and it's one of those things, those hobbies that you can't really make a career out of unless you're a designer or you've got an Etsy store perhaps, or that's popular. And I've been thinking about an Etsy store, and I was looking at doing it over the summer. I was also looking at a website to put out some of my own designs, my daughter's artwork converted to cross stitch, and I don't know if it's worth it. There are a lot of people out there doing it, and I would be a very small fish in a very big pond. So I'd have to sort of seriously consider whether or not having an Etsy store is going to be a thing or not. So, but there we go, we digress, don't we? So I'm going to finish off this row, and then I'm going to call it a day, because I need to get ready to go to work, or to start work should I say. I need to pop to the loo, make a new coffee, that kind of thing. There's a few bits that I want to just get done before I sit at my desk for 8 hours. I'll be back to this in my dinner break, I suppose, and then when Andy comes home from filming, he'll edit it and I'll get some pictures in, and the end of it there'll be me and Lewis Capaldi ×2, and I might even get one of me and Sam Fender out as well. We'll have to see. But yeah, I love my music. I love it. Anyway, what remains for me is to say to you all, if you are a new subscriber and you've subscribed to me recently, thank you very much. If you're returning, thank you very much. I do a floss tube one week on a Tuesday, followed by Stitch With Me the next week on a Tuesday. Very occasionally they may change to a Wednesday, but broadly speaking, a Tuesday is my days to release my videos. If you have subscribed, just hit the notification bell. It'll let you know the next time I upload a video. But other than that, guys, I just want to thank everybody for your support, for your lovely comments. Those of you who follow me on Instagram, thank you very much. And I am now going to go and get ready for work. Final tally. 225 stitches, so I'm happy with that. But I will see you all guys all very soon next week in my floss tube update. Other than that, do take care, happy stitching, and here come the photos. Bye for now.